when I'm your sacred clay. And you take, and you take, and you take, and it's never enough till I break with mistakes. Then you see I'm not some perfect God. I am not the savior that you seek. I can't bear the weight of your prayers. Don't worship me. Your life in my hands. This demand, it's so unfair. Now where has my time gone? Are my rights wrong? You're not getting better. And you take, and you take. When will this stop? It's too late, and I hate what we create, and still you want it. Hi everyone, this is Tash with Unwritten Rules of the Road. We have an amazing special guest today. Lindsay Schoolcraft is joining us. I'm so excited to have you here. Lindsay is an incredible multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, artist extraordinaire. Um,
Stop.
we give you loves and praises.
Oh
Thank
gosh,
you
I'm
so
gonna
much for
fangirl about you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here. Sorry, I just put on my eyelashes and they're doing what they're doing. As you know.
They always have a life of their own.
Yeah, this just like 2 minutes of like eyelash touching and then I think we're good to go. I think my lid's trying to glue itself shut over here, but we're good. But no, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to finally speak with both of you. Like I've been a fan of yours for a super long time. So this is just super awesome to be here.
Oh, yay. Well, how are things in the world of Canada?
Well, currently we had a blizzard and my car's under 3 feet of snow. So we're snowed in here right now.
Oh gosh.
That's awesome. But it's good. It's cold. Just February is a month to just kind of like hibernate and chill out and just take care of your home, take care of yourself as those who like to stay inside do. So that's essentially what I've been doing.
Does hibernation include some piano playing and writing?
Yes, yes, a lot of that. A lot of that
Yes,
is going
yes.
on at the moment when time allows, when time and opportunity allows. But um yeah, it's definitely the best time of year to like isolate yourself and work on new music.
If I may bring up, because that was one of the first things I noticed when we were doing our tech check earlier, if we could introduce the amazing Gladys to the
Oh, the
world,
piano.
the beautiful piano.
I don't know why Gladys came to mind when I named her that. I think it's because it's Welsh for princess, and she is like a very fancy princess. But yeah, this was kind of like my marketplace, Facebook marketplace oopsie. I was just like, oh, look at that. I have a piano now. My partner was completely, obviously, like super cool about it. But yeah, she's really beautiful. She's like made in Korea and she hasn't really been broken in yet. So I'm working on that, but she sounds lovely, and I haven't had any complaints from the neighbors yet, so that's like a good thing.
That is a good thing. Yeah,
Always.
it's always helpful when you share walls with neighbors, that hopefully they like what you play. I have neighbors myself that share wall space, and they actually notice when I haven't been practicing, they'll actually bring it out. They'll be like, "We haven't heard you play in
Oh,
a while, so
you okay? You doing okay
I
over there?
know." It's pretty great.
Oh, that's so incredibly sweet that you have neighbors like that. We're kind of new here. Like I haven't lived here like even a year, so we're just kind of like testing the waters, but the people above us are like always renovating and have dogs, and I'm like, they get it. Like I'm sure they're completely fine with it. Hopefully they're just not home when I'm playing music and Keep it that way.
Yeah. So, Unwritten Rules of the Road, the idea of it is kind of about like the live music world and the community around it. What was your very first live music experience? And this includes classical, so not necessarily rock.
Oh my God, you mean like me performing or like
Hmm.
me
Yeah, you
attending?
performing.
Oh my
Maybe
God,
both.
performing.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay, we got to go back into the archives here. I mean, when I was in elementary school, I was like part of the school choir. So we were doing like little songs here and there of the classic 90s like Disney movies. So like Under the Sea, Little Mermaid, we did like I think we did Wizard of Oz, like we did like some full-blown productions. And this is crazy. Like if you think back, like we're in like grade 4 to grade 8, like we're really young and they were fantastic. So like I was part of the choir on a lot of these theater productions, and I'm very grateful I grew up in a school like that. And I was just kind of up there, like just vibing. Like I don't remember being nervous because I think I being part of a choir, it's like your band, you all rely on one another. It's like, I got me. If you got me, okay, I got you, you got me. Like, let's sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So that was like my first exposure to it. I guess I've been doing it since I was super, super young. But my first like time on stage as a band, I had an all-girl punk band in high school, like the first version of it we were called Princess Riot. And we did the school like year-end Christmas show. I think we called it the Follies. I don't know why, but that's what my high school called it. And I went up there with my all-girl band. We all went to school together. One chick was like from the French immersion program connected to our school. So like she was technically part of our school, but not really. And we all banded together and we covered a song by Scratching Post, which is like an old school female fronted like rock metal band from here in Canada. Um, I think the song was Blood Flame, and I was just like I'll never forget like standing there before the curtain opened and I was like just I've never been that excited for anything in my life. I'm like I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and like this is exactly what I am supposed to be doing. And at the age of 15, like that was it. That like I knew in that moment. And then, the the curtain dropped and we performed and everyone was like that was awesome. Like we only practiced it like 200 times in our basements, like our poor parents. Um, and we just went out there and we ripped one. And then we were like the cool it band at the high school for like the next 2 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I don't know, it's never really been anything where it's like, oh, like I'm, scared and nervous and I don't believe in myself. It's been more of like all right, let's just do this. This is awesome.
That's amazing. Like it's like you found your calling very early on and just knew.
Yeah, yeah, it's always been in my life. I mean, my dad is I'd say a hobbyist. Like he sings and plays guitar and he raised me on like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Johnny Cash. So it was like in the household to begin with because of my parents. Um but yeah, I live music is something else.
It is.
It's an experience.
Well, what is it that you specifically love and resonate with live music?
Like I don't know, I just feel like it's something that I'm meant to do, which is crazy because I haven't done a lot of it in the past 5 years. I've really taken like a step back and I've been writing and producing more so, which is fine because it's like what leads to the live music anyways. But it just felt like something that it always felt good. It always felt right. And it's strange, like politically and business wise, I don't do well in bands, but I like being in bands. So it's a bit of a problem. It doesn't just like it doesn't work. I like being part of the unit where we've all got one another and we've all worked our asses off to like have this brilliant, incredible show and production. And I feel like I really got to show that with my time when I was in Cradle of Filth because I was just like, this is so cool. It's so gothic. It's so theatrical. It's got like it's a legacy act with like its huge discography, and I get to like bring that to life. And that was so sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely, if you want to entertain and you want to perform, it's just something that's like in your bones. Like you can't genetically rip it out of you. It's there, it's in your DNA, it's a fire in your soul, and it's like you're gonna end up doing it regardless, no matter what anyone tells you. So,
Yeah, it's very true. Well, I mean, so you mentioned not playing a lot live over the past 5 years. Do you feel like you're kind of brewing like how you want your live show to be when you get back out there again? Is that kind of, are you like, would you say you're in incubation mode?
oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's been we've all been through it, I think the past 5 years. We've all been through it. Or I'd say more so like 4 years, right?
Hmm.
And I I just told myself like if I'm gonna go back on stage, it has to be at a certain level. I can't revert backwards to, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, like being a pub band, being a bar
Mm.
band. Like it's like
Hmm.
I'm coming back with full production and a proper band and the proper visuals and the right sound and the right mixing, and there's a certain standard of like where I want to play. Essentially I have backing tracks and in-ears and pubs, little pubs and bars cannot support that. So yeah, it's that's actually something that my team and I have actually started planning this month. We've you know got the wheels rolling and I'm essentially starting from scratch again. I do have some like incredible gear sponsors, but um we have to like buy the whole rig and like get it all back together. And we've
Yeah.
already planned out like set lists and flow but you don't really know until you get in the room together. You're like, oh, this is like what I think would work. And then when you get in the room together and you start jamming, you're like, oh shit, like no, this is actually the order of things. And it's a whole like there's stuff that like I came from punk and then I went to like a goth rock band and then I was in, Cradle and now I'm going back to my solo stuff. It has changed so much in those like 15 to 20 years. It's like, oh shoot, like there's so many moving parts now and this costs money and I have to invest in myself. So I'm just like, oh my God, I'm a little overwhelmed. Like I'm wrapping up what I think is going to be an EP right now. And now I'm moving into like getting the live band off the ground. And I'm like, it's just never ending. It don't stop. There's so
Yeah.
much. And then, thinking about yourself as a performer. So I've been getting my voice back up. I've been going back to the gym. There's a certain way I want to perform and move on stage that my poor little old body is not capable of doing at the moment. So, like lots of yoga and don't skip leg day, essentially, if I'm going to make this work. So,
It's a whole
like,
thing. It's a whole thing. Yes.
true story. Like the other weekend, I had like a whole cup of coffee, and then I was like, kind of doing, you just pop on what you're working on in the studio and you pretend it's live. I do a lot of visualization pre-work, whatever you want to call it, pre-planning work. I don't know what the word is for it. And I was like, bouncing around in my apartment, shoved all the furniture out of the way. And I was by the end of 3 songs, and I was doing truly like all the moves I was going to do on stage. By the end of 3 songs, I I fucked up something in my ankle and I blew out one of my knees. And I'm just like, we ain't 20 no more. You're going back to the gym. It was brutal. So like, okay,
Oh.
there's a lot of work that has to like go into building this back up again. So
Hmm.
eventually, like, without giving too much away, like people can expect it. I've had just people, fans, homies who have just flooded my inboxes and been trying to get a hold of me and be like, when are you coming on tour? When are you going back on stage? And I'm like, it's coming. It's just a slow process over here, okay?
Well, I think that it's actually exciting, when you're kind of building behind the curtain, so to speak. It's like you're
Hmm.
crafting everything from your voice to your body to the songs to, the actual production of it. There's like a whole thing, like you were saying, and it's a level of creativity that goes beyond just the music itself, right? So,
It's a whole other visionary like
yeah.
thing you're tapping into. It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting actually a question from Amia. Amia was asking, how old were you when you wanted to produce and sing?
That's a good question. Um, I think, well, I've been singing since I was a kid. I think it's just like something that you do, you know. I'm definitely a product of the 90s. So that there was lots of amazing music that came out, especially in mainstream at the time and top 40 radio that absolutely just like I remember driving around in the car with my mom while she's like running errands, and we'd put on the top 40, and like my mom was really good kind of remembering the melody, but there was like no words to be had, or she just got the words wrong entirely, and like whatever, she was just loving her life and being a mom and enjoying hanging out with me. But I'd be in the back like, just like my useless skill that doesn't pay the bills is I know so many songs. Like if I was in a karaoke competition, I would win. I would be world champion, Guinness World Record for like not even needing the prompt. Um, Especially if it's 90s music. So it's just always been there. But I think at 15, when I started writing my own songs and I say going into the studio, it's just some weird guy with some recording equipment in his garage, bless them. Like I'm grateful for anyone who ever's recorded my music. But that's when I was like, I really love this. And I want to keep doing this, and this is what I want to do with my life. That was like, I don't know, age 15. I think it's so important. Like when you are told something and you know something at such a young age, you just have to go through with it because it's like you're not going to want to do anything else with your life and you're not going to really succeed anywhere else, just forget the rest of it and go for it. So yeah, it was a super young age. I thought I was an adult then, but I look back and I'm like, no, you were still a baby. You're still figuring it out.
Yeah, I know it's funny when you're kind of given a glimpse, I think, of your path, of what feels right for you. And so often, especially in the art fields, I feel like a lot of times it can be discouraged. So,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Like, just get a real job. It's not a real career path. There's no
right, yeah,
guarantee. And I'm like, can y'all shut up? There's so many jobs in the industry if you go looking for them. Like, please.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. Oh, we're getting so Pete Russo is saying, Lindsay, you're amazing. Your album Martyr in particular was one of my keep me sane albums during quarantine. That's
so
lovely.
sweet. That makes me so happy to hear. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you enjoyed that. It literally came out right before the Dandy Pandy hit. Um, yeah, that means a lot.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, it's amazing when you put your work out there and it resonates with people. It's something that I've chatted about with friends where it's like it's really a gift to be able to have that connection.
Yeah, you don't know what it's gonna do. You just make it and you put it out there, and then like you just don't realize the lives it's gonna touch and how it's gonna touch them. And that's why it's important to write into your favorite artists and let them know how much you like them, guys. Thanks.
Yes, it means a lot.
Mhm.
What was the first, do you remember like when you first started songwriting? Like versus now, like do you feel like there's a certain or do you feel like you kind of tap into the same kind of soul and heart? Do you feel like there's been an evolution that's happened?
It's the same in the sense that it is like I'll just be sitting there doing something completely opposite, and then a melody and some lyrics like pop into my head. And I think like I'm very much like a spiritual creationist. I'm very much like I believe it's like divinely guided, and I believe it is something that comes from somewhere else and you're just a vessel for that artistic piece to come through. And it's crazy too with sobriety because I didn't start drinking until I was 19. So there's this like 4 year window of me writing these songs, some that I still remember. They weren't like amazing, but they were there. And then coming back to sobriety and like getting those downloads, like those, songs coming out of nowhere so clearly, it's so sick. Like I feel like I'm kind of reliving my teenage years right now as like, but like with this whole new skill set, like I can produce and I can record and I can make demos, not the greatest demos in the world. So, it's wild. But yeah, it's still kind of the same. It's kind of the same process, and I've come back to writing with a band, which is like great. It's I'm very much getting back to my roots right now. Like I'm back to playing bass guitar, which was my first instrument with my first band. Um, but yeah, I feel like I've tangent away from the question entirely. It's still the same process. It's it's just quicker, it's more organized, it's more disciplined, it's bigger ideas now that I compose like a big component of my music, especially like I've changed so much since Martyr. There's now a lot of electronics in there. I've still kept the strings. I've kind of not gone with the whole orchestra. So like it still all comes in and I'm finding the tools and the design to be able to communicate those ideas and like what I'm hearing in my head and getting it to my team. But my team rocks. Like I've been blessed to be with like some incredibly talented people who get me and also just like we all like the same music and we have very similar influences. So it's cool. Like I'm very lucky, more so lucky than I was when I was a teenager because it was just me like notebooks and chord charts and like cassette recordings back in my bedroom, like, and then bringing it to a producer with my band and then being like, okay. And like it always came out, it was so much simpler being like just a band, pop punk band, right? Because it's very easily translatable. It's like, okay, you got your drums, your bass, your guitar harmonies, the vocals, and then the vocal harmonies, and then just like boom, pow. It's like out, it's out the door. Whereas like now it's like, oh yeah, I got band and electronics and strings and me being the whole damn choir in parts. So but
Mhm.
it's just nice to be able to like layer that. I'd say that anything I find I'd like it's like if you're a Pokemon, I was in my baby form and now I'm in like my final form. Like I'm like a Blastoise or a Charizard. Like that's just how I feel now as a songwriter. Like I'm fully
Yay.
there. Maybe even the mega form. I think mega form's coming in the next 5 years. So for any nerds out there who know what I'm talking about.
I love it. I mean, I feel like I've had the opportunity to go to concerts where people have been at their craft for a really long time. Like I saw Ravi Shankar and he was in his 90s.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
it was incredible. And it was such a gift to get to witness somebody who's truly a master at his craft. And I just feel like, I think as artists, like especially ones who want to evolve and grow, I think that's probably all of us, right?
I hope
That
so.
it's, yeah. But
Yeah. If
it's
you go
just like, it's
stagnant,
so
you like want to quit.
interesting. This is true. Yes. I imagine that you probably at that point would be like, maybe I'll try something a little different. So, but
Yeah.
no, it's always, I think, exciting just to see people, like, as their evolution happens, like like you were saying, like now you have all these different layers and these tools that you get to play with, you know?
Yeah, it's fun. It's really exciting. I'm already like I'm finishing up this body of work and I'm already talking about the next one and the vision for that. And God, I'm so blessed to just like continuously have ideas and want to act on them. So it's fun. Like I've never found more joy out of doing anything in life. And I think that's what like if something brings you so much joy, like that should be your answer. Like this is what I'm here to do, like period.
Absolutely. Um, okay, speaking of bands, here's a question. What are some of the challenges that you've run into when playing with bands, and how have you worked through them?
Well, I left all of them. Like being in a band, sorry, not sorry. Being in a band is like a very complicated marriage. So I guess you could say I've been divorced 3 times. I'm doing great. And and it's not just like being married to one person. That I feel like that's what a duet would be. You know what I mean? It's like you're married to the music and you're married to this one person that you are like making music with. And
Hmm.
there is a lot of like compromise and sacrifice and communication. And when like those things are not happening, it comes to a point where it's like, you say your piece, you stand up for yourself, you communicate, and then if it's just like not working out, you got to go. So like I'll just give like the too long didn't read. Like my first band, we all grew apart. We like literally we're all doing different things with our lives now. Like we were an all-girl punk band. One girl went off, she became a hairstylist. She still does like acoustic singer-songwriter stuff on the side. The other one went off, her name's Val. She's in the Anti-Queens, awesome like pop punk band from here in Canada, all girl, so sick. So like she went off and did her own thing. Like we all just grew apart. We were very young. Like I started Princess Riot when I was 15 and it dissolved when I was 21. So like you can imagine like women too, women change. And I know you know this as a female creative. We change so much in like a 5 year period. We're just like, I have grown, like again, evolving like a Pokemon. Like you just keep going. There's layers and layers to it. So there's that. And then I started marrying the Black Lamb. And then those guys, like after we were like it was like a very big in the local scene. It was like a very high catastrophic rise and fall because like people knew who I was. That fan base came over. We put out this awesome album. I had this wicked band, and then it's like when it got hard, like this is what I find where most bands dissolve is when things got hard and you really had to grind and you really had to commit and you really had to like have some discipline and organize and have goals. It just like fell apart. Like they just wanted this like instant success. And then like when we put out that album and then all of a sudden like 6 months later, there was like no plan in place, partially my fault too, but like, there was a lot going on in life at that time. I was also like I'm a recovering alcoholic, so like it was my fault too, like you got to check yourself too. Um they all decided, well, I want to go get married and buy houses and have kids. And I'm like, that is completely fine. So that's like why that band dissolved. And they all seem happy and like they're doing great in life. So who am I to judge? And then I was in Cradle of Filth, but the truth is Cradle of Filth is not my band. And if it was my band, I would do things differently, but it's not my band. So, you're kind of at like there's something there's a line, there's a saying, I can't find it right now, but at the mercy. You're kind of at the mercy of someone else and how they do things. And listen, I had a great time. The 7 years I was in Cradle of Filth was some of like the coolest, most magical, memorable moments, some of the most awesome gigs all over the world, all over the world. But when it's not your band and you have a vision and you have ideas and you feel like you can bring so much to the table and it's just it's being passed or it's being swept under the rug or it's just not being acknowledged or like no one's willing to take the time to like put the planning and effort into it, like it's not my band. So like therefore I'm just on the side and you can take my ideas when you want or you can just leave them. It gets tiring after a while. And I mean, also, I left the band because like we did 2 world tours in 2 years near the end. Like I had clinical burnout. I was in the hospital. So,
Mm.
it's just like I I don't do well in bands, but everything I've learned bringing it over to my solo project my guitarist and my drummer, we are a three-piece. Okay, we are Nirvana. I don't know, we're just this weird three-piece. They feel really seen and heard and taken care of because I know what it's like to be a band member who is not appreciated and valued and seen and heard, taken care of, and like they're involved in everything, but I make sure that like they don't have a headache because it's like you're here because of me, it's my project, so like I got to treat the people around me really well. And I think that's like the secret sauce to why things have been so great the last year behind the scenes. And like, hopefully, I'm hoping will be good this year moving forward, is because I really care about these people and I want them to be, they're valuable team members. I appreciate their time, their energy, their focus, their contributions. And I think like that's like, if you want to be successful in the band, to answer this person's question, again, too long didn't read, that's it. Like, there are challenges, but I think as long as you respect one another and you communicate and you're not being a self-sabotaging little shit, I think I think the sky is the limit for all y'all. If you can get all the other things in place, like the creativity, the vision, the uniqueness, the musicianship, that's a big word, then like you're good to go. So yeah, thanks for coming to my
Well,
TED Talk. Cheers.
that's well, in terms of the tours that you've done, um, and you mentioned the burnout, like what are ways that you've managed to stay grounded? Because here you are in one piece. So you
Thank God.
have to have done things that kept you grounded.
Yeah. Well, like no. I know what to do now, but at the time I was a complete ding dong. Um, I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I really made the choice to stop in the beginning of 2018, but I relapsed a few times. I will say that like I'm glad I was mostly like I'd say 98% sober during those last 2 years, or like I do not want to think about how badly things could have gone for me. Um, but it was just extremely grueling. And the thing was that I learned in the last year I was in that band touring the world is you got to get sleep everywhere you can. Like I've been vegan way too long now, like 12 years. You got to get in your protein, you got to eat right. And when I started like sleeping as much as I could and eating right and exercising where I could and like, I we were kind of in the hamster wheel of visiting all the same places and seeing all the same things. So I'm like, yo, like peace out guys. I'm going to the hotel room to just like have a spa night and like sleep. It kind of like it took the fun out of it. like self-care and taking care of yourself is extremely boring. Like you find eventually you get the little dopamine hits of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna paint my nails tonight. Like go me, I'm an adult. You're like, I'm gonna throw on Grey's Anatomy and paint my nails, and you know what? I am winning at life. But it takes like a long time to get there because you're like lying in bed and you're just like rotting there in pain on tour, and everyone's out like drinking, having a good time. And like, should I have FOMO right now? I feel like I don't need to have FOMO, but I'm having FOMO. Um, so I didn't necessarily do it right, but like moving forward, I feel like especially with from what I learned and how fast paced like being in that band was, like, taking an extra day to travel over to a new time zone and recover. Like we're talking big leaps, like going to the other side of the world or going to Europe from North America. Making sure that everything everyone needs is on catering. You can still do it pretty low budge with like low budget without like having all the bells and whistles. It's like, okay, you just need like ginger, lemon, and like fruits and vegetables and hummus and tofu and like you could do it. You could thank God my band is pretty much vegetarian, so like this works out great. This is gonna be great. So but it's also like finding one thing that I found is like finding your alone time, or like if you have like one friend that you really get along with on tour, like spending time with them. And for me it was important having like a sober friend or a vegan friend, so yeah, it's a wild one, but I will say like learning to take care of yourself, it's not that exciting, guys. Eventually you get good at it, but it's not it's like I am so normal. Ew.
Well, I mean, you mentioned earlier like finding the joy. So it's like finding the joy in the little things, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to like travel with funny like face masks for like hydration. So
mhm.
like I just like take a selfie and throw it up on socials and like I have like a panda face or like black metal like it was great. It was fun. Like you
Yes.
find the fun in like the boring ass things on tour. Um but I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna see where we're at next year and see what happens. I think the most important thing is I look forward to doing it with the team I have right now because they're all genuinely people I love spending time with, who I've known for a very long time, and they're all road dogs anyways, so like they know what's up, and I feel like we're legit gonna have a really good time. It's gonna be a lot of fun, especially on stage too. So I'll just try not to laugh and forget my line. That's like my biggest fear.
I've had my share where I get really into the music and I zone out and I'm like, "Oh, I need to sing now. It's time to sing."
Oops. Right, right. Oh shit, the thing I'm supposed to
Yes.
do.
Yes. Yeah, but no, it's also helpful when other people are on the same page in terms of, I guess, being road aware and knowing kind of the deal
Yeah.
because it is a very, very different lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, I miss it. I miss it, and I'm really excited to like re-experience it on my own terms as like the boss ass bitch in charge, like taking care of everyone because I'm the fairy goth mother. I take care of my people. So yeah, it's a whole other world. And everyone's so curious about it. I'm like, guys, it's a lot of just like backstage asking for the Wi-Fi code and asking where you can find coffee. Like, don't get too excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have somebody on here. Kevin is saying they're also a recovering alcoholic for 19 years. That's
Wow.
amazing.
Good for
Congratulations
you.
on that. Yeah. Yeah. Um, what made you decide to go sober? Was there anything in particular?
It was like a lot of things, but I think have you ever heard the story of like the dog on the tack and he won't get off the tack? So like I'll just for those who don't know it, there's this dude. he goes up to meet the farmer at his house on his front porch or something, and he goes up the steps and he sees that the dog is like sitting there whimpering, and he asks the farmer like, "What's wrong with your dog?" He's like, "Oh, he's sitting on a tack." And he's like, "Oh, why isn't he get up off of it?" He's like, "Oh, it doesn't hurt enough yet." So it had to hurt enough, you know what I mean? And it was kind of like it was for my singing, it was for my health. I have like hypothyroidism, which is a bastard to deal with, and a lot of other health issues like autoimmune issues, and like drinking does like not make that better. But like I also just didn't like the person I was when I was drinking. I was like dramatic and like just overboard and like not in control of my emotions sometimes, and it just went too far sometimes, and then I was like embarrassed the next day, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this to myself, you know. So it was kind of like this weird moment. It was on my like right before my 30 something, what is going to be 3 years this month. So I have to do math. Oh God, 36. Yeah, 36th birthday. And I like cowardly slipped up on my promises to myself to appease someone else and just had like a sip of champagne because they wanted to celebrate me for like a nomination I had for a music award. And I had a raging headache the whole night. And I'm like, I'm never again doing this. Like, this is like the universe punishing me and being like, get your shit together, buddy. So, yeah, like I was just like, I'm done. And I will say, like, I'm glad I have to sit with myself. I have to deal with myself. I have to live with my brain. I think we got a pretty good system going on now. You know, you really go through those dark nights of the soul, but I feel like alcohol is a way to avoid those things and not really work on what's going on inside. Being sober has forced me to really know and live with myself and go from like a villain to like a superhero in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like as you were talking about um, getting ready to, I guess, release what you've been working on all this time, that's an aspect of it.
Yeah,
And coming at it from a different perspective as well.
totally. I mean, the biggest thing that just kind of like every time I'm like, oh man, am I actually doing well in life? Like, I don't know. I have this app on my phone called Sober Time. And I punched in like there was the day I truly started on this journey versus like the actual day that I've been sober. But like from the time I was like, I think it was 2018, I was like, I'm not spending any more money on alcohol, period. Kind of hard when you're on tour because it's like there all the time and it's free. People are trying to buy you drinks, but I digress. And the minute I broke down like my monthly bills of like how much I was spending on alcohol, and I think to this day we're gonna look at it. We're gonna because I kind of need like my own money to invest in, you know, making my own music. And where is it? $15,000.
Wow.
$15,500. Like, oh my God. So like that there should say everything. You have so much more money when you don't drink. And that is pretty much like what my new EP has been costing me. So hey, sobriety.
Hey,
Woo!
win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I appreciate the question. It's a loaded question. It's just like layers of reasons, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think like you were mentioning earlier, like figuring out the things that are self-destructive and then figuring out how to heal that because it is a multi-layered um process as you're trying to shift habits and going like, okay, well, how do I do this? It's much easier said than
Right.
done, right?
Right. Yeah. Like I would say the hardest thing I've ever had to do, I think the hardest thing anyone can ever do is like change yourself and change a bad habit. Like that is work. That is work because I don't know what's up with this human brain, but it tends to be a little bit like self-sabotaging and like self-cannibalizing at times. I'm just like, we know that's wrong. Maybe it's just addiction. It's like, why are we doing this? You know, and to be able to tame that beast and have control of yourself is like, whew, I think that's the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm sure anyone else would agree who's tried it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the nature of the human brain is to create habits, right? It's part of our survival mechanism, but unfortunately, not all the habits are constructive. So,
No, your brain
yeah.
doesn't always know what's best for you. Let's be real.
Yes. It's a matter of gently guiding it towards hopefully better constructive processes. Yes.
That's the hope.
Yes, until you're like, oh, what is this thing that I'm doing now that I probably isn't the best thing for me.
I hate that when you're like, why am I here? We said we weren't going to do this again. Oh my God, we are here. God damn it. You're like so mad at yourself, but really you're just mad at your brain.
It's
You know,
true. It's true. Silly
God
human
damn.
brain.
I know. Oh my gosh, we're just over glorified monkeys at the end of the day. But anyways,
Yes, but hopefully having some fun along the way.
yeah, trying to. So far, it's been a
Yes.
blast.
Um, okay, this is a fun question. Do you have what is your specific workout and training routines you have to get ready for touring? You mentioned
Ooh.
like yoga as one of them.
Yeah, I try to get that in every other day, but it's just like a 10-minute, like, what hurts? Let's stretch it. I mean, everything hurts, but like what hurts the most? So there's definitely different stretches for that. I think child's pose is my favorite. I really try not to fall asleep in that pose. Um, but I mean, I do cardio every morning. I'm either like first thing when I wake up, I'm on the bike. I think it's really good for your metabolism. I've noticed a difference. So 20 minutes of cardio, if it's not the bike, oh my God, I destroy myself climbing flights of stairs. It's so painful, but it's worth it, you know. And then unfortunately, I had an injury. Somehow I gave myself tennis elbow at the gym before Christmas, so I'm
Oh
still
no.
recovering from that. And it's kind like I can work my lower body, but I can't really do much with my right arm. It is getting better though, thank God. It's a long recovery. So my plan is to be, and that's happening this month, is just to be in the gym 2 nights a week, building muscle. And the thing is like you shouldn't go so hard on yourself in the beginning. Like I used to be able to go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week for 2 hours, you know, cardio, full body muscle like workout, or, you know, different like you do um your arms and then your chest or your back or your legs or like whatever wherever you need to go. Yeah, I was doing that, but like now I'm not there. So there's that. And then when it comes to singing, mainly just like the warm-ups and you know, getting the range back that I want, but also breathing exercises are so important for that like floor support, you know, with your diaphragm. So it's been a lot. It's kind of been really like hamster wheel, mundane, same things over and over. But again, it's good habits, right? It's like good things that you want. So there's that. And then it's like somehow I have to like put that all together into like actually performing and entertaining. So that's like future me problems. That's like end of the year me problems where I'm like, okay, like how do we really want to like move on stage and like, you know, express these songs and these lyrics? Because like I'm kind of over the whole traditional like headbanging, like the windmilling and the back and forth, you know, with your hair back and forth. You know, like I'm kind of over that. I kind of want to bring my own moves to the stage and I just kind of want to do what like makes sense and like feels comfortable for me. And I think we can do that because like I remember like the last year I was out on the road with Cradle. I'm pretty sure I had whiplash and there was like I think it was literally my last tour in Australia. I couldn't move my head. I was in so much pain with my neck and shoulders. And I'm like, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth it. Like, yeah, I look cool or I'm doing something extremely wrong, but like, no. So yeah, that's the project for the end of the year. I tend to close the blinds. I don't want my poor neighbors like peeking in on that. Bless them. Like this is the only space I have to do that. So we'll see. But man, it's so much work. Why do I do this? Oh. Oh, I'm tired talking about it. God.
I'm looking forward to seeing it when it all comes together. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, look at what your band does. Like, I have to say, I followed Mankind is Obsolete, but then when you brought out Alice and like all the videos and the dances and everything that you guys put together, I'm like you guys put a lot of thought into that. It's wild. Like, good for you. So like I understand because like you blew me away with all of that. So I'm hopefully I blow you away a little bit, or at least like get a clap out of you. Not pulling my knee on stage when I go to perform.
I'm sure it'll be amazing.
Thank you. I hope so. Hopefully, we're not calling any ambulances anytime
Oh
soon.
my gosh. I have had my share of ambulance rides after shows. I feel like it's kind of a rite
Oh,
of
wow.
passage. So I've had two.
Oh,
So yeah.
oh no, knock on
Um,
wood. Okay.
yeah.
What happened? Can I ask, like, what happened? Did you just like pass out? Did you like hit yourself off something?
Well, one of them, I had 6 weeks of bronchitis with a Mankind tour. And so during one of our fastest songs where I'm screaming the whole time, I felt like something snap. I think I popped a rib. And
Ugh.
so, yeah, we ended up going to the emergency room, but on the way we got hit by a drunk driver. So that was
Love this for you.
yeah. So, and we were inches away from the hospital, but then we had like the $1,000 ambulance ride, which was not fun. So,
Oh my
yes.
God, you poor
Yes.
thing. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Wow, that's
Yeah.
I've never heard that story before. That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, it's just, I think as performers, we have the mentality of like the show must go on, right? Like so often
Yeah,
we're like the show must go on. And you kind of forget your own mortality. Like I'm like, oh, it's
all the
okay if I
time.
can't breathe. It's okay.
It's okay
And
if I'm like
then
in so much pain, whatever.
yeah. Yeah. You just kind of I think that doesn't really occur to you. You're just like you were talking about being a vessel and you're channeling the music and you're there in the moment. And so sometimes things like that can kind of slip away and then you're reminded,
Yeah,
you're given these reminders where it's like, no, no, you need to check in with your body and take care of yourself.
yeah.
So,
Usually
yes.
by that it's a little too late, but yeah, hopefully we get better with that with age, right?
Hopefully in theory, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's wild though. Wow, I haven't been in an ambulance after a show yet, but like again, knock on wood, I don't need that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
No, no. Yes. I'd like to think I got it all out of the way. So
It sounds
we're
like
just gonna
it.
be 100% healthy from now on. Yes.
It's a plan.
Yes. Um, let's see. We've got oh, Pete Russo is saying that he was talking earlier about your dog on the tack story. He's like, it's like this story of falling in a hole on a street that you fall in spite knowing it's there and eventually just taking a different path.
Yeah, I love
Makes all the
that.
sense. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
love that.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Peter Persekin is asking, what other subject matter are you going to be exploring with your lyrics, if you're able to share that?
Ooh, okay. That's a great question. Thank you. Well, like, man, it's wild because the last thing I worked on before this new body of work, it was like an album just on Patreon, and it's like my style of music without the band. It's very like trip hop influenced. And that was just like a mash, like a mix up of just like everything. It was a very much like potpourri album, which is like, here you go. Here's like some really old songs, some new songs that don't really belong anywhere else, and some covers, like have fun. And they liked it. So like that's all that matters to me. Well, I had to make it and be happy with it, but like I'm glad they liked it, I guess is the best way to put it. So this new body of work I've been working on with my writers, it's really dark and heavy and mature, and I didn't know what was going to come out. I was like, I like this music, I want to go for it. And then I was like, oh shit, like it really touches on the topic of like narcissistic abuse and like the predator prey kind of thing.
Mm,
And it's really angry. Like I'm really having an honest conversation and going over it again and making it poetic about yeah, like the really messed up things that like all the different stages of narcissistic abuse and the levels I've experienced it at and what I know about it. And I'm really angry. So I'm just letting that come out in this body of work. And then I've been talking with my bestie and like my band today, and I was like, yeah, the album after that is going to be about like fatal attraction type love, and I'm ready. So like I think I'm just like kind of taking it as a lyricist in like chapters. Like I'm just there's like I guess more like books with chapters. Like this current one is, chapters about narcissistic abuse. And then the next one will be just about like this like undying love that just like destroys you. Like maybe probably gonna touch on like limerence and um some other messed up stuff. But it's like I feel like it's something I need to sing about, and I'm attached to it emotionally with the music. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Who knows? Who I might end up like being like Bjork. Every one of her albums is different and has a different theme, and I feel like that is going to be it. I'm definitely one of those artists that like I have to do full bodies of work. This whole single cultures thing is BS, and if you don't create that way, like don't do it. Don't do that to yourself. So, yeah. That's I think that's it with that. We'll see. Only time will tell, really. It just has to
Yeah.
be a surprise. I can talk about this forever, but you'll know when you hear the music.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's very, very powerful and challenging actually to explore that. So it requires this, I'm sure, like a very deep level of honesty with yourself.
That's it. Like when I started demoing these songs, it was just me having a conversation and I'm kind of like, this is like really messed up. Like, do I really want this song to be about it like this? Like one of the songs like made me cry. It was about like feeling like you're unable to leave your abuser because of everything they told you that like isn't true. Like you'll be nothing without me, and like I'm the only one who will love you this much. No one will ever love you this much. Like really dark topics. And I was like, oh shit, like I'm really getting into the muck and mire of this. And but I'm glad I did because it was in me and it needed to come out. And luckily, this music that was made really, with the emotion it gave me, it pulled that out of me. Which, like, it's weird too, because this body of work is all, I'm very much like, here's my idea, getting my downloads, gonna make a demo, you guys make it heavy. This is like, here's all this heavy music. What do you think you should put over top of it? I like a lot of it. I think it's really sick. But I feel like it's very much a big collaborative effort. I feel like the body of work after this is going to be from like this, and then it's like, okay, it's like Lindsay Schoolcraft with the band thrown on top of it, not like start with the band and then Lindsay Schoolcraft on top. It's like these weird sandwiches. I feel like I'm bread or meat. I don't know, it sounds really wrong. But so on this EP, I am the bread, and on the next bodywork, I am the meat. This is my brain, everybody. Showing her
I love
ass.
it. One day there will be pickles, but for now,
Oh
bread and meat.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I feel like the pickles are the electronics. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
yes. Yes.
and then like the strings are the cheese, string cheese,
Hmm.
haha. Um,
Yes.
it's a layered sandwich. It's a
Yes.
it's a sexy, delicious layered sandwich at the end of the day.
Yay. Oh, this is
Not
awesome.
hungry, not at all.
I know. I'm like, I think I need to make a sandwich after this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm ordering food after this.
This is awesome. Pete Russo is saying they just signed up for your Patreon. Credit
Thank
completely to your
you.
mentioning it here on the Unwritten Rules of the Road. Thank you so much for the support. That's
Oh
awesome.
my God, thank you. Was that yours or mine? That's yours or mine?
Yours,
I,
yours.
oh my God, thank you. I will come on there and message you and make sure you get the Patreon album and everything with signing up. So just thank you and hold tight. You will hear from me very soon.
Yay. I love it. Um, Jimmy Cassell is asking, what has been your most memorable tour?
Oh, hands down. 2015 in Europe, Cradle of Filth with Neobel Viscaris, and a bunch of different opening bands. But like that was such a great tour. It had its ups and downs, but I think that's like finally like is a weird one. I have a bestie in Australia. His name's Zenwar, and he was on tour with Neobel Viscaris then. And like we played together in Australia in like 2013, and then all of a sudden his band blew up, and we were touring Europe together. And we were like pen pals for a bit, and it's so funny because during that time he asked me to start a musical project, and I totally blew him off. And now like we're all intertwined in each other's creative projects in some way. So we got to like hang out and go through Europe together for 2 months. And thanks to him, like there's some cool shit as a tourist on tour that I would have never like saw or experienced due to our hangouts. That was such a fun tour. Um like for Cradle and just like, touring with the Aussies. I love those guys. I'm still like huge Naval Viscaris fan to this day. So Yeah, it was just so great. It was such a rad time. Hands down, best tour ever. I don't think anything will ever top it. But it's like when you're like hanging out with one of your favorite people on the face of the planet, like your road buddy. Well, it's just like we were the only vegans on the tour, so we were like the cult of hummus. We were like the cool kids. We thought we were cool. We're actually really boring in real life, but the internet, like, no, it got out of hand. Like the cult of hummus got out of hand. Like this was a joke and a hashtag that we started, and then people started bringing us hummus to meet and greets, and we're like, what have we done? So yeah, cult of hummus, best tour ever. The end. Cult of hummus 2015. Let's go.
So would it be safe to say that hummus is your favorite road food or yeah.
Yeah, because like, oh my God, have you ever had hummus and fries? Have you ever had like hummus and like veggies, like hummus on toast? It's kind of like there's that movie and I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was like putting hummus in his coffee. Don't do that. That's terrible. And I've never done that. I never will. That's wrong on levels. But it's on the tip of my tongue. I can see the actor. He like puts hummus on everything. But like literally, like it's just the easiest food. It's got protein, it's got fiber. Yeah, yeah, and it comes in like a plethora of flavors now. Like there's flavors now, like chocolate hummus. Get out of here. Are y'all on crack? Like it's yeah, it's the best.
I did see the chocolate hummus. Have you tried this?
I refuse. I feel like bitter shouldn't. Well, I guess it would make sense with the tahini because tahini is like bitter, right? And that's an ingredient in hummus. But
Hmm.
like, nah, there's just some flavors. Like I love pickle hummus. I like tart, sweet, savory, but also like salty, right? So like pickle hummus, caramelized onion, regular shit, garlic, cool. The beet hummus was interesting. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't like my favorite. But now there's like so many flavors, like baba ganoush mixed in with hummus. So eggplant or aubergine, as they say in the UK. Can't leave those people out. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to think of like any flavor that I would like to see with hummus, but ew, there was salt and vinegar hummus. I love salt and vinegar chips. I don't like salt and vinegar in my hummus. I'm sorry. Like chickpeas with salt and vinegar, like
Hmm.
I think they were just running out of ideas in the idea department on that company. Um, but yeah, good old hummus. The best road food ever. Champion road food for vegans. Period.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with it. I mean, you can eat it straight, but it goes great with veggies and all the things. Makes great sandwiches.
It's like a
Speaking of
good layer
sandwiches.
on sandwiches too. Like it's
Hmm.
it's kind of like if you don't got mayo or you don't eat mayo, like it kind of fills that void. I'm trying to think of like other things that like with crackers. Oh my God, it's the best with crackers. Like pita chips. Yeah, anyways, stop me. I'm gonna start like just praising the chickpea forever. This needs to stop.
Ode to the hummus. We love hummus. Yes. It does
Oh
fill
my
all the
goodness.
things. And it lasts for a while. I noticed that it's like you can keep it out for a little while and it lasts
Yeah,
for a bit.
last
Yeah.
the party. It lasts you for months after that. It's fantastic. Best food, superior food.
Yes. Here's a question for you. What's one unusual habit or practice that has most positively impacted your creativity or performance as an artist?
Well, two things. I think it's really important, like how you speak to yourself and how you talk about yourself is not only like outward, but like inward. So, okay, maybe three things. There's definitely like affirmations and what you think of yourself. I think that's so powerful because you have to really believe in yourself to be insane enough to do this, like any of this. But also, gratitude. I every day last year, I'm still doing it this year. Every morning I write down things I'm grateful for, and it's completely shifted my perspective. Like, yeah, the world's on fire right now, literally. And I'm just like, okay, like that, I'm sorry, y'all. That sucks. Here's a donation. What can I do? How can I help? But like, I'm just like, I don't really let things in life drag me down anymore. I look at all I have and all I'm able to do and everyone I'm able to love. And I'm like, that is such like a blessing. I'm so lucky. So that in return, believing in yourself and being grateful for what you have versus what you don't have. Because I think when you get in that like lack mindset and you start comparing yourself to others, you're really like sabotaging your own potential. Like you're wasting your time and energy focusing on the wrong things. So that has really transformed things for me. But also, and this is just again being a boring old adult, is like rest. Like I take at least one day, I don't know how I'm going to do it back on tour. Like I'm kind of doomed in that regard, but like taking 1 or 2 days a week to just really rest. Because when you're using those creative parts of your brain, they get tired, they need a break. So whenever I take time to myself, it could be binging something on Netflix, it could be like, spending time with my cat, which we do all the time anyways. I don't really have a lot of hobbies, but well, I read. That's something I play Pokemon on Nintendo Switch. Doing those things for yourself is so important to coming back to your creativity. So it's really the things you choose to do outside of it that when you come back to making art, you're just like, you're feeling like good about yourself, good about your place in life, and your body's feeling good. And when you have those things, then you can just like, I feel like I've never been more creative, more focused, more driven, more productive than I have been now because of those things.
That's awesome. Really solid advice. I feel like it's like the idea of filling and feeding the well, that you draw
Exactly.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like having your cup full so you can pour over. Like you can't pour from an empty cup kind of thing. So that goes for your songs and your creativity, you know. And I hate it. I don't know if I'm sure you've been on those studio deadlines where you're just like so ragged and you're just like at the end of like completing a song or a whole album or like in the mixing process and you're like, I am on my last few drops in this cup and we're gonna squeeze what's left out of me. But when we're done, I'm not talking to any of all y'all for a week. I'm going home. You know, there
Cave
are
time
those
is
moments.
necessary. Yes, cave time is
Hmm.
necessary.
Yeah, I call it rotting on the couch, but yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I know. It is. I mean, I think it's like the marathon where it's like the very last few miles where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna squeeze this through. But there's recovery that's required
Yeah.
afterwards.
You have to recover. And that's like, I'm getting all these like young musician friends in the local scene who are like in their 20s and they're just destroying themselves, but they can bounce back. And I'm like, all right, you try that when you're in your 30s, you call me, okay? Like, they're just like, why am I so tired? And I'm like, go home and sleep. And then my one friend, he's 28. He's in like a deathcore band out here called Beguiler. They're really cool. He's like, oh man, I slept like the last 2 nights. I feel amazing. And I'm like, you're on to something, kiddo. Proud of you. Like, who knew? Who knew sleep? Oh my God. Kids, these poor kids. I don't envy them. They have more to deal with than I did 20 years ago being in a band and starting a band. I cannot imagine.
Well, it's interesting too because actually being on tour is hard to get sleep, because when
Very
you like,
hard.
yeah, yeah,
You
you kind
you
of have to
really
catch it
push
when you
yourself.
can. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm worried about like turning into a mean old grumpy lady on tour, like because I get so much sleep now and I love my sleep. And if there's a day where like I don't get my sleep, I'm like, I'm kind of useless right now. But I think that's with the
Mm.
creative energy. I feel like on tour, it's more of like you're not necessarily being creative. You're going through like an autopilot with performing of like, showcasing the artwork. So like for the most part, the creative processes are done unless like you have to work on a project on the road or like when you're doing press or like if you're halfway through starting a new stage outfit, like there's little moments of creativity, but I feel like the music creativity is the most like purging, like soul-sucking thing. And I say that in a good way. So when you're on the road, it's like, okay, like I'm performing, like I can stretch myself a little more thin. If I had to create, like, God damn these bands on the road where they're like, oh, we're writing an album on the road. I'm like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, okay, good luck with that album. I wonder how it's gonna sound because yeah, like I remember Cradle tried to force me to write on the road, and I'm like, you are out of your mind. Like, don't even talk to me. Like, nothing came of it. Like, we didn't write anything because we were all so exhausted. And I'm like, see, oh, just maybe listen to the Canadian, but no, nobody listens to Canadian. Yeah, like outwardly telling them that, like, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the road is a whole other beast. I like how you call this the unwritten rules of the road because it's like, yeah, like nobody wrote a book about it yet. Like this is just stuff we talk about.
I know, right? It's like the things that we all kind of know once you've done it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
been there a hot minute.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting too when people like, experience going on the road for the first time. And they're like, whoa, this is nothing like I imagined it.
That's like, oh my gosh. And I'm seeing it like through my day job. Like that is like what makes or breaks a band in the beginning. Like they go on the road for the first time and all of us who've done it, we're like, we'll see. We'll see. And then like two or three band members quit. And then like they're looking for other band members. Like the fans are like, why did the lineup change? It's like, well, these brothers over here or sisters, they don't like being on the road. So, it's like when you first go on the road, it's grueling. And I think as much as I don't wish it upon anyone, I think like that living out of a van, occasionally having a hotel room tours, I feel like those, like sleeping on your friend's basement floor tours, I think those are important in building like character and appreciation and grit because if you haven't had those, you don't get it. You don't get it. And then when you
It's
get to the
true.
bus, then you're like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for this. It's not an inflatable mattress on my friend's basement floor, thank God.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. Definitely talking about gratitude, it's like all the good things that happen, you're like, no, the guys, this is awesome. This is
Yeah,
really
this is
awesome.
amazing. Like, do not like the no, I think the no complaining policy on the road is very important. Like, yeah, like we need to communicate if something's going wrong, like communicate with one another. But like complaining about anything or like what you don't have when you're like a touring band on a bus touring the world, like shut the hell up. Like you have it, you're doing pretty okay compared to where you used to be. So yeah, no complaining. No complaining. Mm-mm. Not
Yeah.
not in my vocabulary. Yeah.
Well,
Touring
and
with
it's
me is going to be
also
fun.
I I am very excited for you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see it and hear the updates. I think that's probably going to be very exciting. Do you have any idea when that's going to be, or are you still kind of brewing things up at the moment?
There won't be any information about it until if things go quote unquote according to plan, but we know that never always pans out. It could be super quick, it could take even longer. But if things go according to like my to-do list, this time next year there should definitely be some information on it. But I like that I have a whole year to be at home, creatively be with myself, wrap up a body of work, start the demos for another body of work, and, slowly chip away at getting the live band back on stage because I want to do it in such a way. Like, I have so many cool ideas. I don't want to give away too much, but like really neat things that like I kind of wish my favorite bands would do live to like, make things a little more interesting and fun. Um, so yeah, like there's a lot going on behind the scenes, like stuff that's not even on my Patreon because I just want like everyone to be like, hell yeah, this is so cool. Um, so it's nice that I have this time to really like I'm glad I'm in the headspace and like my mental health is where it is, which is in a really good place to be able to enjoy this time and chip away at it on my own terms without like um certain people that would be on my team, like, breathing down my neck and being like, this needs to be done faster, but they don't understand. Like, I'm doing things as quickly as I can without destroying myself. And that is such a great place to be in. Like, you don't always
Yeah.
have to destroy yourself for your art. Yes, cry when you write a song that is very personal, but like, don't kill yourself over trying to get it all done in 3 months. But, you should be spacing out over a year. Like, why? There's no point to that. That's so silly. That is like amateur hour. We ain't doing that no more. We're doing it right.
No, absolutely. I think that, I mean, it's a shift in I think I've seen like kind of an approach where, and this isn't just in the art field, but people in general just feel so compelled to just, rush productivity and force so many things in a day. And allowing that spaciousness, I think it actually creates more quality work, right? When you have that much more
Yeah.
to give.
Yeah, you're not rushing things. And that's something that like I'm currently like having a bit of like we're figuring it out, but like push and pull with my producer. He's very quick. Very like do it, get it out, get it out. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like we need to slow down and make sure this sounds the way I want to sound because like I have to deal with this for the rest of my life. You don't have to be up on stage performing it. You don't have to like be applying for awards and putting out music videos with it. So like I'm very like we really found our footing on like the first two songs we did together and now we're like 8 songs in and it's like I'm making sure that like we're taking the extra time to get these things right. So like yeah, you really got to advocate for yourself. And it's nothing against him. I'm very lucky to work with him. He's a genius. Like he's so musically talented. But you know, it's your art and at the end of the day like I am co-producing it with him. I'm the musical director. I'm the one of the main composers. It's like I got to be happy with it too. So yeah, I'm definitely making him slow down and do it the way I want it done. And luckily he respects me enough to like listen to me and let me do that. I think like, you know, without like pulling out the like the being a girl in the industry card, like it definitely was harder when I was younger. Like I think people just want to protect you and they project their ideas on like what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. But at the end of the day, like you know what you want. And like, yeah, I have, like Bjork says, like what men have to say once, women have to say 5 times. Well, guess what? I like repeating myself. I'm a musician who practices. So guess what? Repetition is already within me. So you're going to hear it 5 times. You know, unfortunately, it has to be loud. It should be at any volume. But, you know, it's going to be said. But that's the thing. Actually, like interesting little thing. I had a conversation with someone today, and you know, like I've definitely have like been in the room like very rarely with women who disrespect me. That's very rare. And like when it happens, I'm sure if you've experienced this, you know, it's like shocking. Like when you have an issue with a woman and they behave like the men do and they hurt you and you like thought they were a sister in the industry with you, like that is like devastating. Like it is. But then when men do it, it's like, oh, I expected this. But something I said, I was like, oh, I'm like, everybody on my team who's male is like married and they treat their wife so good. And I'm like, those are the men that you need on your team is like the committed partner who respects his like wife or like his, you know, same-sex partner, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but whatever the relationship is, it's like, oh, okay, like that's the secret sauce. So guys, if you're building a team around you, the married and respecting the wife, you will have an awesome team member. Like it just kind of came to that realization today. It's because like they respect you and they listen to you. And it all reflects back on like how are they treating their wife? Well, they're probably going to treat you the same. Like that's just their outlook on how to treat women. So yeah, dodge those bullets. Like those days are over. At least I
Yeah,
hope.
no. I mean, I think that it's like you were mentioning your work with your producer and the fact that you said that, oh, I'm lucky he respects me, but I feel like probably respects you even more because you are advocating for yourself and and you have a strong vision, which is awesome. Not everyone does. So,
Right, right. And I appreciate his patience because like he was in the his name's Justin DeBleek. He goes by JD and he was in Ice Nine Kills and now he's mainly Motionless in White's producer. So I know Chris Motionless, the singer of Motionless in White, is like the same way. Him and I are very much the same, like visionary, know exactly what we want and how we want to get there. So I think that's why it works, but also like I can tell he really likes the collaboration. So yeah, it's good. It's good for him. Like I'm always coming to him with stuff and I'm forcing him to try things that like he's never done before. And I'm like, well, I've kind of never done this before either. And I think we did a good job. So it's been like such a good journey with him. I've loved this body of work that we've built together and I'm really excited for everyone to hear it because I feel like my fan base is just like gonna be like, whoa, like this went a little different, but like it's still you. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, it's nice when you find the right music producer who like really gets you, but also like, you know, picks up where you can't pick up so you're not exhausting yourself trying to write every instrument. Oh my God. It's so much. Yeah,
it's a
it's a
lot.
blessing.
Putting together an album is a lot. It is. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, especially if you're producing it, forget about
Hmm.
it.
Well, we have a
Oh,
beautiful question from Jessica Davis, asking, what do you say to someone who truly has a voice but hasn't used it in 25 years?
a voice, I'm assuming like as a singer.
Mhm.
Honestly, like, do what you need to do with it. Like, if you want to go back to lessons, if you want to start singing, if you want to start recording, putting yourself there on the internet, like, do what you like. I feel like this person already knows what they want. They just want confirmation from me. Like, they just want a little, like, you can do it and you can do it. You have a voice. Um, but I feel like you already know the answer to that within yourself, and you should absolutely go for it. It's totally up to you. It's your journey. If you love singing, do it for you, and then find ways to share it with the world that you want to do it. If you want to join a band, there's so many things you can do with a voice. There's so many things. Like, I even just jump on singing backing vocals for my friends' bands. Like, that's something that has brought me a lot of joy, being a studio singer. I've done voice acting, um, like for cartoon characters. Like, there's so much you can do with your voice, but just make sure you're doing it for you and that you love it. I know it's scary. It's so scary to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. Like, I remember back when I was doing lessons and training and I had to do recitals and sing opera and sing like genres I wasn't like super confident in and good at, or fully developed in. It's such a like oh, you feel like naked on stage. Like, it's such a skin crawling, uncomfortable feeling, but eventually that goes away. And then you're just like in your true form and you're just like loving it and you're doing whatever you need to do. So like I feel like this person already knows, and I do want you to go for it, but um, it is your story, it's your journey, and if you really want it, you'll have it straight up. Be persistent and bring friends with you. It's always more fun with friends.
It is always more fun with friends. It's very, very true. Yeah, having
Mhm.
the support system, I think, is so important. Because I think
Yeah,
that sometimes, especially if we've come from environments that are not supportive, it can be especially scary because if you've been told, not to have a voice, or for whatever reason, like if you've been criticized or punished even for having a voice, whatever that means, yeah, it can be terrifying to step out there and be like, okay, like here I am, world, so
for sure.
overcoming that, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that reminds me, like back like when I was doing meet and greets with my old band, how many people would come to the meet and greet and be like, I wanted to do this, but like my parents told me not to, or they were like my bully and they told me like I couldn't do it, and now I've spent my life not doing it. I'm just like, yeah, my parents weren't supportive either, but I was like, I wasn't gonna let them like tell me what to do. Like, you can already tell what kind of child and teenager I was, stubborn. But like some people genuinely like because you look up to your parents and they just like encapsulate that into their belief system and hold on to it for years. And it's like it's your life. Like, you have total autonomy of everything at any point. You might have to make some changes to have some more freedom, leave a partner, move, get a job you hate, or get a better job, better pay in a job you love, ballin', like whatever you need to do, it's your life. And um, I think I was just like really aware of that from a young age. I was like, if I don't do what I want to do with my life, I will be that bitter old woman and have regrets. And I don't want to be that person. I just like nobody wants to be around that person when they're older. Like, I will be not talked to at the retirement home if I get that far. Like, nobody's gonna want to be around. It's like, oh, bitter old Lindsay. Like, she just hates everything because she didn't do what she wanted with her life. And that happens to so many people. And it's
Yeah.
like, give yourself the permission to restart and retry at any age. Like, you still, at least I hope, you still have many years ahead of you. And like something that I really struggled with like the last few months, I'd say before Christmas, is like I'm not 25 anymore. I'm not 16 anymore. I've been doing this like 24 years, right? I'm older. Um, there's a bit of grace for that in the metal world, thank God. Like, people pop off in their 40s and their 50s now. Like, their career, it's just the music. Like, that's why I love the metal fan base, because they're just very much like there is a section of them that just like lust after certain looking people. And that's like, sorry, you're not in control of your hormones. Like, so sorry that you think on that level. But for the most part, metal fans are like, they just love the music. They don't care what you look like or what your age is or anything. So I was like, I think I'm getting too old for this. And I'm like, that is a shitty belief. Like, eventually I got over it. It's like, that's a shitty belief, and I'm going to give myself permission to try again. I'm going to give myself permission to have another chance. I'm going to take another shot on me because I deserve it. And if I don't take the shot, I'm going to be that bitter old lady in the retirement home, and I don't want to be her. I don't want to be like, oh, I gave up on myself at 39. Like I just gave up on myself and I just went and like got fat and like did something else. Cause like honestly, like the only reason I'm physically taking care of myself is because I'm a singer. And I went and worked out a record label and no one heard from me again. And I made all this money and now I'm like miserable and alone. That sounds terrible. I ain't doing that. So, it's just like you really think like you look at like you have long-sighted, long vision on like what your future would look like, or at least you can kind of predict it. And you're like, we're gonna try to avoid that because that is just a giant red flag. Like we ain't doing that. So back to this person, start now, do it for you in 5, 10 years, even in a year, depending on how hard you go. You'll be so grateful and you'll thank your past self and you'll be glad you started again because it sounds like you really want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helps to have kind of a, like you were mentioning, like at the end of my life, what is it that I really want to be able to, feel happy about? Like how can I be comfortable in my own skin, at the end of the day? And so if you
Mm.
think, I think if you think about future self, it really does help inform what present self should do, right?
Oh my God, entirely. It's scary because like there's many paths that you can go down, and if you can just avoid those like super not great ones, that'd be great. Really great. You're right though. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, I mean, I know you're working on, this current incarnation of music. Is there anything in the ethers that you feel like you would like to dip your foot in that you haven't had a chance to yet in terms of talking to future self?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've kind of done everything. It was weird. I like hit 37 and I'm like, oh shit, I've like knocked everything off of my bucket list as like I've done everything I've wanted to do. But not necessarily true. You have to like kind of make new dreams again, or you have to like refine that list. And like, yeah, I still want to do a show with the band with a full orchestra, or at least a full string section. Like that's the big dream. Make a live DVD out of it, wear some ridiculous looking dress. Like I can't wait. Um, I've always wanted a song, original or whatever's on the catalog in like a big movie or a big TV show at like that big, like gross, like, oh my God, they were meant to be together, like romantic moment. I'm just like a hopeless, I'm probably more like a hopeful romantic now than hopeless, but like totally like just crying on the tombstone, like the love of my life is dead. Like I'm just so dramatic. So I would love to have a song in like that big moment in the movie, whether like they finally like confess their love to one another or like, oh my God, who died? The love of my life is dead. Like, I don't know, something. Just one of those, it's like ridiculous.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
I'll just be there in the theater, like clapping, like, yes, yes. Like this is it. Like that's still a dream of mine that I've wanted. Like I had to go back to my 15-year-old self and again really connected with her through like being sober again. I was like, what do we still want here, girly? Because like we got a lot of that off of the list. Um, and I think just more than anything, like I just want to keep making albums that like I love and getting these opportunities to perform all around the world and hopefully with like other bands and artists that like I have loved and appreciated and who have influenced me. I mean, definitely there's like super dream collaborations that make no sense that I don't know if they'll like ever happen. And then there's like, yeah, like I'm still waiting for Dimmu Borgir and Moonspell to call me to sing on an album like that. So it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, like don't give up on yourself. You still got things inside of you. You still got shit you want to do. And you have to remind yourself of that. You know what I mean? Because like when you've like, God, I did have you ever read the book? It's by Napoleon Hill. It's called like Think and Grow Rich.
Mhm.
And he's like, list all of your accomplishments. And it was like so big. I was like, holy shit, we did it. Like we done it. We done it. You know what I mean? Like what's next? So it's just like, okay, like a lot has happened, but like there's still so much more ahead of me. There's still so many dreams, and I'm sure they'll just present themselves over the years. They'll be like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I'll be like, "Yeah, that's super sick. Let's go. Like, I'm down. Like, what is sleep?" Um, you know? But yeah, so it's one of those things where like, yeah, I got some ideas, but like time will tell. I appreciate you
Yeah,
asking that because yeah, it's important. Again, hopeful romantic. I feel like that's gonna be a new one.
I love it. I love it. It's just a matter of time, that's all.
Yeah, just waiting around. Come on, let's go, universe. I'm ready.
Well, I think it helps, when you're, you know, aiming for something to have an idea of what the thing is that you want, right? And also
Yeah,
to
being
have an understanding of
precise.
your why. Yeah. Because
Hmm.
sometimes this is sort of like, if you go out there and you're not exactly sure, it's like kind of nebulous as to the steps you need to take to get there. So,
Yeah, like if you're gonna be vague about it, life is gonna be kind of like vague back to you. But like if you are like very precise with intention, like going for the thing, life's like, okay, all right, like we'll get you there. Like you kind of have to communicate, whether it's like a spiritual thing or like a business thing or with like your community or like, because that's the thing I find it happens like when you talk about it. Like I've found in the past, like people have come to me and they've been like, "Oh, I want this, this, and this," and I'm like, "I know that person. Can I like hook you guys up?" And that is like brings me so much joy too, is like connecting people to make these incredible collaborations and art and like opportunities. Um, so I feel like if I just like keep talking about it, eventually it's just gonna happen. It's just gonna come to me because someone's gonna see this interview and be like, "Yo, Shagrath, like this crazy ass chick from Canada who you one time followed on Instagram wants to sing on your next album. You should probably call her. She's pretty cool." So that's like the hope. Yeah, put it out there and see what comes
yes.
back. Like a message in
Yes.
a bottle.
It's true though, because I think sometimes, like you were saying, when you say it out loud, people might not have realized that's what you wanted until you actually say it. And then they're like, oh, well, actually,
Well,
yeah.
actually,
Actually,
let's
and
do
and
this.
I find that most people want to help. Like most people I encounter
Mhm.
really want to help. Like people in general, I find like it's a natural tendency where people are like, actually, I really want to help. And so when you have the opportunity to help somebody in a way that you can, it's a real joy.
It is. It's like that's the thing is like genuinely when people tell me about their dreams and what they want to do, and if like I be smart about this, I feel like they are there to be able to do it without me like my contact being like, "Who did you send to me? Oh my God." Like I genuinely like I just love that I could get them in touch. Like it's such a nice feeling and it's true. Like I think it's really like you want to surround yourself with people who want to see you win. I want to see them win. That's why I'm connecting them. And luckily the people I have around me, like they want to see me win too. Like they know because like I show up and I get the job done. And I think that's also like a super important trait and quality to have being in our industry and being in a band is like, no, like Lindsay will see this beginning to end. Like oh, what was it? There's like I'm just remembering a conversation, but it's like, I'm a strong starter. I have all these ideas, like, but I'm a bad finisher. I'm like, I'm the finisher. Like,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
will get it across the finish line.
Yeah.
Probably destroy myself in the process. Trying not to do that anymore. But, that's a really important thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the music community is much smaller than I think people can realize. And
Holy crap, is it
if
ever?
yeah, it is. And if you are known as a person that's reliable and committed and able to see things through, it really does go a very long way.
Yeah, especially as a creative, because like I get this insufferable many ideas. Which one do I even start on? Life of a creative.
Yes,
It's
yes.
brutal.
It is. I mean, it's part of the fun, I think, is like, thinking of the clay on the table and you just slap on a bunch of clay on the table and eventually you're like, okay, I think I see the sculpture that's starting to emerge from there, right?
That's so true. Yeah, I've never heard of that before. That's great though. I love that. Yeah. You kind of
Yeah.
just like as you go about it, because like real talk, when I've started bodies of work, okay, um, like especially the Patreon album, great example, because that's like the most finished one recently. Um, I had an idea of where it was gonna go, And where it ended up was completely like not what I expected. But I like it. I'm like, you know what I mean? So you're like with the clay, it's going to show in time with creativity, it kind of shows you what it wants to become. You can always have an idea, but when it's being birthed, it's kind of like having your own child. Like I don't know anything about that, but this best I can relate to is like your child comes out and it's its own person with its own ideas and its own identity and its own personality. And it's like, okay, I need to respect that. Like, yeah, it came from me, but it's its own thing at the end of the day. It's an extension of me, but it's not, you know, and so many other people getting involved and this can get really weird. Like the child has many fathers, but I digress. Takes a village, takes a
It
village.
does take a village. It does take a village. If you're lucky, it'll be one child with one head and not three, you know.
Not a hydra. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Good thing. Oh shit.
Actually, I find that it's kind of a place of surrender when you're creating something where you might have an idea of what you think it's going to be, but it takes on a life of its own as it progresses, right?
Absolutely. I was like, I guess as a producer and writer, the thing that I run into the most is like I'll get a song idea and I'm like, it can go in three ways. It could be a piano ballad, it could be like this weird whole trip hop thing I'm doing, or it can be a heavy song. And you're like, where does it fit in any of this? Where does it fit in like, you know, and it's like if you are used to composing in multiple styles, because it's like, yeah, I came from punk rock, but I'm also a classical musician, but I've also been in heavy metal, but I've also been in a goth band, you know, like electronic, like kind of very fucking All Hail the Birthday Massacre, like that kind of thing. Huge influence, one of my favorite bands. You're like, where does this fit? Like what, like sometimes I will still get song ideas and be like, this was for my band 20 years ago. We're not doing pop punk anymore, guys. Like, I'll just demo it and send it to the Anti-Queens or something. You know what I mean? I hope Val's not watching this because now she's going to expect that. You know, so like it's just it can go in so many directions and you have to respect it. And that was actually like a huge issue with the last song we worked on is it came out, it was originally a piano ballad. I turned it into like an electronic trip hop track that was very like lo-fi Birthday Massacre inspired. And my producer took it and made it heavy. And I'm like, oh shit, this works. This like, you know, but like it's nice to have that other brain so you're not like exhausting and just completely relying on your own brain to finish it. Like that's why we work so well together. He's a strong finisher too. So it's like I could start stuff and I don't have to finish it alone. And that like when you're a finisher, if you're doing it by yourself, forget about it. Like too many unfinished projects I have is like got bored, nobody's there with me. Like it's not that important. It was just me practicing my
Mm.
skills, but no discipline. So yeah, songs can take many forms and you really have to respect like and it's good to try it. Like which one is it going to end up as? You just got to try. You got to keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a question actually about starting the body of work. How do you start a complete body of work or album? Is it a concept from the start? Like, do you work on based on concept or um, other inspiration?
Yeah. It's like I know where I want to put this all. It's like this is this body of work here, this invisible thing in front of me. I'm looking at all the
Hmm.
songs that are going into that basket. And it's just like you just got to keep writing and creating and you make songs and then sometimes you write something and you're like this is great, but it's not its time yet. It could wait another, like, this is for something I want to do in the future and I'm going to save it. And like sometimes I am notorious for saving songs for like 2, 3, 5 years later because I'm like, it's not its time yet. I need to get better at this. I need to provide this. But now I'm in a place where I'm like, I could literally start from scratch and I know I'll be okay. Like, this is what I've been doing for 24 years. Like, I have mastered something that I've been doing for a very long time. And people are liking it and it's working, you know, like you have to remind yourself like, hey, like you're actually like you've been doing this for a really long time. You've put in the 10,000 hours. You have a craft that you've formed. It's a skill. And it's like I could start from like someone could be like, this is your concept, right? Like 3 songs or an EP or an album around it. I'd be like, okay, and you just go for it. But I tend to follow my intuition and my emotions and like what is coming out of me at the time. And I think that's like really important. There's definitely I'm the thing I will say I'm noticing as I get older, it's kind of like there's different sides of you. Like, and I think the different sides of me are there's my sadness and my anger, and then there's this chick in the middle who's like just really sassy, driven by like that sadness to be a brat. There's like a brat in me too. There's like these three personalities. And I have to kind of like, okay, who is this coming from today? Does it go with this body of work? Did like the angry me is in this new body of work. I've been hella angry. Um, the next body of work is probably going to be the sadness because there's still like a lot of things I've not processed and written about. But this sassy brat in the middle, I think she's the one who she's like the diva and the princess who creates the live show. Very few songs come from her. I guess you could say there is one song on this new release that comes from the sassy brat. Um, and that's just kind of like who I am like in my daily life. Like I just that's just me like being who I am. Um, but yeah, there's that like creative little diva too who just like loves to come out and express herself. And she's just more so like show and tell. She's kind of quiet, but when she speaks up, she speaks loud. So yeah, it's like these three dueling personalities all the time. It's like, what how do we feel today? And it only reverts to those two. And then I feel like they're layered. Like there's like disappointment and devastation and like confusion and like you know what I mean? Like the layers that come with like an emotion. Like you can put it down to like angry and sad. So yeah, it's kind of like you just got to keep creating and then like that's the thing. It's like you can overthink about what you're going to create. It doesn't really matter. You have to just start creating it. And then, like you
Hmm.
said with the clay, as you go. That's it. So yeah, it's just kind of knowing how to compartmentalize it after and just you don't overthink it too much. You're just like, this feels right. And like when you put together a body of work, you're like, this feels right. It flows. Everything belongs there. There's songs for this next body work that are B-sides. They're completely edited because I'm like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't belong here. It's not part of this. It's going to be a B-side. We'll play it live because it's a bop. Maybe it just needs to be a single all by itself. It's one of
Hmm.
those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn singles culture. Damn it, singles culture. You win this time.
It happens. Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it is funny because I think that the muse has a mind of its own, right?
Hmm.
And things will come out as it does. I think that the biggest thing is just showing up at the page.
Yeah. Consistency, like showing up for yourself every day and showing up for that creative part of you. It's very hard because I find when I'm in the middle of like a left brain day job project is when like my body's like, oh, but I want to work on this song. I'm like, yeah, okay, but like, do you want a roof over your head and food in the fridge? Like, we have to finish this deadline. It's like this internal
Mm.
struggle. But luckily with my day job, I can just kind of stop, go demo the song, come back to it. I'm very blessed. I know not a lot of creatives are blessed with that. So it's just like trying to find that balance. But also like when you're in the middle of something and you're like almost done finishing it, like you don't want to stop halfway through. It kills your momentum. It's like, man, creative brain. Creative brain anonymous. That's what we need. Oh, my word.
My muse happens to like whisper things at me at very inconvenient times, like when I'm in the shower or when I'm driving.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh shit, oh man, like the worst is when you're on the toilet. It's like, okay, like just where's my phone? Voice note. Like I love that though. It's like for
Yeah.
you, it's like a whisper in the ear. Yeah, it's just like kind of
Hmm.
comes in and you're like, whoa, okay, shit. Like, dude, we're having a shower. Can we like please get
It's
clean first before we go track this? Cheers.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think like the way you were describing about the different personas, I mean, it sounds really playful and joyful, like how you're describing it. And it really does sound like it comes from an act of like true self-love. Like it's like you're embracing all of these sides of yourself to be able to come up with this expression, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest thing to do. It's like you kind of, speaking of self-love, you come to this point of like defeat where you're like, well, this is the body and the mind I got. We might as well start working together and figuring this out because you're not going to get anything else. You're not going to be able to like create. this, like, I think a lot of people create a persona or like who they think they should be. They're really not sitting there in their authenticity. And I think like just accepting yourself for who you are and like learning to love and like yourself and be with yourself, so hard. I've been doing this for so long. And there's still some times where I'm just like, God damn it, Lindsay, we did not need to do, why did you do that? Like now we gotta sit, now we gotta take an hour and do self-reflection because you did the dumb, you know. But yeah, when you get to there, it was just kind of like a, all right, let's figure it, like, like you're fighting with yourself. It's like you and yourself, and you guys are best friends, like you're joined twins, like with flesh and spirit. And you're like, all right, we got to figure this out together because, like, if we don't, like, ain't nobody else gonna do it for us. But I definitely like don't hate myself anymore. I do love myself, but I think I'm more than anything, I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to talk about these things because we've been fully honest on like our part in making these problems. Like we've taken full responsibility for our involvement in all of this,
Mhm.
which is so important. I think that's self-love, is just being like, yeah, fucked up. Yeah, we fucked up. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's not always easy to, I mean, I don't know if it ever is really easy to truly look at yourself in the mirror and to like really look at yourself and be like, okay, here is a thing and here is a choice and this is who I am. It is what it
Have
is.
you done that? Have you done that mirror work with like
Mhm.
forgiving yourself and like, oh my God, oh man, I don't know like anyone watching has ever done this, but like I think the person who I personally think teaches it the best is like Lisa Nichols. And she talks about like you talk to yourself in the mirror and you like forgive yourself. And there's a whole process. I can't remember all of it, but like the first time I did it was at 24. And I like just was a wreck. It was so horrible. It was so uncomfortable. And I like sobbed. And then I did it like recently in the past few years. And it was just like, damn, you got to check in with yourself. Like you can't just like do this every 10 years. You got to do this like yearly. And just to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and like be like, oh, damn, that's us. Like we got to figure this out together. Like it is layers and it is a process. And I find so many people, like I even know people who like tried to give themselves positive affirmations and they had so much trauma they were like physically ill, like throwing up. Like that
Yeah,
shit is hard, man. But
yeah.
yeah, it's good that you do that. Like I'm sure you're a more evolved Pokemon and stronger and more proud of yourself
I'm not
these
sure about
days.
that. Well, I think I did I've done that kind of work and I've also it was really powerful and beautiful. I wasn't in a yoga class and the teacher had as partner with somebody and just look at each other straight in the eye and hold that for a
Oh
while.
my God, that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very
I've
hard,
done
you
that with a
know.
few people, and it's like there were tears, like
Hmm.
like now, like when it's strange. You get like just sorry, random thought, but like back then when you have to stare with this trusted person, it's like you kind of like fall in love a little bit, but you also just like it's scary. It's like almost like a predatory thing because when two animals stare each other in the eyes like that long, it's like, all right, shit's about to pop off. Like that's what that means to like cats and dogs, right? Like sometimes I have to remind myself when I'm looking at my cat to blink, or else he thinks I'm gonna like attack him. It's hilarious. Like they need blinks because that's how they say I love you. It's very cute. But um I think more now than anything, it's really hard for me. Very few people I can look in the eye, but it's really hard for me because like then I start to really, I guess, energetically connect with them and be like, oh man, I really freaking love this person. And there's like so many levels of love, right? There's
Hmm.
like romantic love. There's like, fun, sexy love. There's friendship love. There's family love. There's love of self. There's pragmatic love. Like, there's like pragmatic love is a weird one. I don't know. I was like looking at all the different types of love and I'm like, okay, so like, y'all just get together to have kids? Like, boring. Like, yeah, look it up. Like the six types of loves according to the ancient Greek, yada yada. Um, but like that, it's intense. Like when you get comfortable with being able to look people in the eye, maybe it's just a spectrum thing, but like, it's like you do or you don't. It's like, oh man, you really start to connect with that person, and then you just like start feeling things. Like once you're over your own shit, you really start to feel things for the other person. You're like, oh man, this is scary. I'm gonna go write a song now. Bye. Like this is awkward. I'm feeling things I don't want to be feeling. We're gonna go talk about secret. Write a song about you, never release it.
I think it's yeah, I mean it's interesting because, you know, when you connect with somebody like that, on a really human level, like a deep human level,
Hmm.
you know, where you see
Hmm.
past the layers, past the physical, all of it. You just connect on a human level. And you do that with yourself when you look at yourself, you know,
Yeah, and
just
yoga's good for that. Like, how long have
Mhm.
you been doing yoga for?
A good part of my life, you know,
That's amazing.
I've had an active practice, and I have an aunt who's Buddhist, and so early on she was teaching me about meditation and that sort of thing, and so I mean I'm very very lucky, you know, to have those roots in my life, and so
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely given me a lot of grounding, you know, because, you know, as challenging as life can be, just to remember the breath and all those things that come along with it.
Yeah, it's like a like that's the one time where like I felt I really wasn't thinking about anything as doing yoga. Like you can meditate, but it's like, oh my God, so many thoughts until you get to nirvana. But like yoga's it. Like that's nirvana. Like that or like aquafit or some shit where just someone's like directing your body through things and you have to focus so hard on that. You're like, oh, I'm not thinking a million thoughts a minute. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
highly
really is.
recommend.
Yes, yes.
Guided yoga.
Hmm. So
Mhm.
helpful. Same with guided meditation. I think that really helps a lot, you know, in terms of getting out of your own head, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
found that hard to do. I just like I can just disassociate and stop listening to people and start thinking about other things.
Hmm.
So
It's
hard. But if you're moving your body, it's
that
like,
helps
I
a
really don't want
lot.
to break anything right now. So we're just gonna stay in this pose.
Yeah,
Stay or
no,
not think.
it's yeah, no, movement helps, I think, a lot, especially, you know, as an active person, you know, it's like I think that
Hmm.
really helps.
Hmm.
And it's amazing when you start learning, like sort of like what happens when you get out of your head, like what comes from that, you know?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people like break down and cry doing yoga. True story. Like, oh shit, I haven't grieved the loss of XYZ. And I'm like, oh shit, are you okay? Like I get out of my pose and like make sure like, they're okay. It's brutal. And they just need to be alone in it, really. You just
Hmm.
don't mess with that process.
No, no, grief process is it's its own thing, needs to happen on its own. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. Well, if there are any more questions in the chat, please feel free to put it in there. Oh, this is a fun question. This is a Tim Ferriss inspired question. If you could put one thing on the billboard in Times Square, what would it be?
like what like anything or just like of my own.
Maybe, yeah, maybe something of your own, like if it could be out there.
Oh yeah, like I mean it would be like the new music. Like
Mm.
it would be oh man, like my name with like my new album cover and like coming out on this date under this record label, da, da, da. Like that would be it. That would just be the thing. I don't like it'd be cool if it's like a photo of yourself looking super boss ass bitch. Like that's great. But like I think it's like it says more when it's like and that's how they do it these days. Like ain't nobody care about the album artwork anymore. It's brutal. Um, you want your album artwork to be out there, but like when it's like you looking all like awesome, like superhero, and they're like new music from Lindsay Schoolcraft now on Spotify. Like, hell yeah, I made it. That's it. So
Yes,
there's your answer. Maybe in the future, guys. Maybe. I don't know.
I could see it.
Thanks, girl. Appreciate you.
I could definitely see it for sure. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your absolutely beautiful self with us. You're such a
So
wonderful,
sweet.
beautiful, inspiring artist in person.
You're so sweet. Right back at you. I've been wanting to chat with you for so long. This is so nice that we finally got a chance to do it. Like, you have no idea how much you've inspired me. Like, those Mankind albums, like, I'm just passing through. That song gets stuck in my head so much still to this day. Like you've created some amazing shit. Like you should be so proud of yourself. And the new stuff is awesome too.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. And, I just feel so fortunate that we converged when we did, and we've just been like kindred spirits. Like I was telling you, satelliting, I think
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
hope we
such a
can work
gift when you
again.
find your kindreds.
Yeah, and I we can do something in the future. I know like before the Dandy Pandy hit, we were like talking about you coming up and doing some shows with like so maybe in the future we can do something together. I would love that.
Yes. Yes. I know. It should happen. I think
Okay, good.
magics need to happen together for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So
Yes.
fingers crossed on that.
Yes.
I would just be honored. That'd be so cool.
Yes. I wanted to give a shout out to our wonderful community. Also, I'm just going to fangirl real quick. My choir director is in the chat.
Oh,
I'm a
that's so
huge fan of his.
sweet.
Donald Brinegar, I love you. He's
Hello.
amazing. Yes, huge mentor, and I'm a huge fan of his. Thank you all so much for taking the time and for sharing your amazing questions and thoughts and perspectives, and for supporting Lindsay Schoolcraft. She is an incredible artist whose
So
messages
sweet.
and work needs to be out there. So,
You're
yes,
so
many,
sweet.
many
Thank you so
loves.
much. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, everyone.